The title of this webinar was Holistic Living. Wynn and I fought over this brainstorm, not between each other, just with each other, on what to call a webinar like this. We fought with chemical-free, clean, non-toxic living, and we really didn't feel like any of those phraseology that we throw around in the space, in my space, in the agriculture space, or in her space, which is about everything else, which you'll see that did what we're talking about justice. For instance, I came up with chemical-free, the term we use in the agricultural space, and Wynn immediately said, well, water's a chemical, so like we got to have water. And so it's not a clear term, not clear phraseology for what we're really going to be talking about. Basically living naturally in a holistic perspective. So we center down on holistic living. Holistic is a very special word for me. We practice holistic management on our farm, a framework developed by the Savory Institute out of Zimbabwe and Colorado. And it's really looking at ecosystems, be they human ecosystems or farmed ecosystems or even wild ecosystems, as wholes within holes within holes. And that's really what we want to talk about today, is viewing the human body and the general human sector of our economy and our family and our living spaces and our beauty products as holes within holes that all correspond and relate to other holes. And so we called it holistic living, and I think I'm pretty excited about that term.
I'm pumped about it.
Yeah?
I love it.
Cool.
I love it.
Cool. So the general framework of this is I'm really going to try to push you to get as much information out as possible. Okay. I want you just to dive down holes and see where we end up. Okay. At the end, we're going to get to some very practical next steps. So don't be afraid in this early time to get very philosophical, to use words that you might need to define. Okay. And if you keep moving, I'll force you to define those words. Okay. So that's the general framework. So let's begin with your background. So who are you? Where are we in this marvelously cool space? And why are we here?
Okay, well, my name is Wynn Sisk, and I'm so ecstatic to be here sitting beside this guy because I think he's so phenomenal, and it's fitting that you have a big head because he's got a very big brain. I love the way his brain works. And so we're here in my space in Crozet, Virginia, in the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's the name of the business is Elemental Holistic Hair, Body, and Living. So I cover anything from what you put on your body, what you surround yourself with in your home, what you clean with, what you cook with, what you cook on, what you drink out of, what you take care of your babies with, and I have the artistic background of fixing and beautifying people in a safe way. So that's where we are right now. It's my little, my green, clean, living, holistic haven. And I really, my story is, it's a long one, and I'll bore you with all the details, but the gist of it is that I was told at, when my husband and I got married, that we were not going to be able to have children. And I think knowing from a very young age, probably from the time that I could walk and talk, I knew that I wanted to have children. And if you know anything about me, and I know I don't know a lot of you on here, but I know 2 of you, and you can't tell me no. You just can't tell me no. And I wasn't going to take no for an answer, and I was going to find out how and why. That took years to do it, but it led me down this path of really paying attention to what I was putting in my body, and then it led me to what I was putting on my body. The journey didn't end with the being told I couldn't have children. I actually have 4 now. I went through in vitro, and when my twins were 6 months old, I found out I was 3 months pregnant, and then we had another one. So I'd say, you know, to those doctors again, you can't tell me no. But I really started looking at other things as people in my family. Multiple of them, we have anything from breast cancer to bone cancer to colon cancer to bladder cancer to, I mean, ovarian cancer, you name it, our family was, both sides had lots of issues. And so I wanted to make sure not only was I doing the right things for my family, or for myself, but also for my children, because I wanted to be around for a long time. I didn't want to be part of the legacy or the lack of legacy that people were leaving my family. So I started paying really close attention and finding out some really interesting stuff.
You can share with us tonight some of the things.
Yeah. So where do you want me to start? Great
question. Before we move on, just because we have some local folks here and people who might really care about this space, can you give like a 1-minute synopsis of what is this space? You talk about, why you're doing what you're doing, a lot of overview, but like there's beauty products on the wall. You just cut my hair. There's green plants growing on these cool little like bulb watering containers on the wall.
Yeah.
Just give us a minute.
Gosh, I specifically opened this space because there's so much information that we don't know, or that is not readily available. And I felt like through the rabbit holes that I went through to find out through my health journeys that it was my responsibility to share what I was learning. I have like we said, I do hair, but there's lots of ingredients that we come in contact with on a daily basis, regardless of hair color. That's a whole nother beast. There are safer options, and we have that here. But the things that we're putting on our body every single day in the environment that the environment that surrounds us, there's simple changes that we can make to live better and cleaner. And I wanted to be able to, because there were no other options like this, I wanted to be able to be that resource for my community, because I feel like grassroots movements start with people. And while there is a lack of regulation in the industry, we as people can really make a difference with our voices well before the laws change. So that was more than a minute, Daniel.
No, it was perfect. I got sidetracked. I got a text, which you might have heard, and it says, Polyface says their link to the webinar isn't working. Show of hands, or you guys can reach out. Did you guys have any problems with the link that you were sent logging on? No. Let me,
I had an issue that I was sent a WordPress login, and it like logged me into the back-end WordPress. It gave me a username and a password, and that's the first thing I logged into. And then I saw an email that gave this exact Zoom login. So it could have been the double email potentially.
Do you think it's Wendy?
It might be Wendy.
Can you text her?
Yes.
I'm sure she would love to be part of this.
Okay.
No, what? That's cool. Great, thanks for that. I think that was you, Kendra.
It is Wendy.
Who responded.
Yes.
Let me just close this out. Yeah, Kendra, this is the first time using the registration in this webinar system. So I appreciate that information. That's good, really good for us to have.
Yeah, I was gonna message you after and let you know.
Cool.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Just in case that's the issue.
Marvelous. While Wynn is doing her thing, I'll show.
Tell Wendy to use Daniel's email.
Okay.
It was Daniel's email that I was able to get it on.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You just want to.
I got 3 emails. I got 1 from Daniel and 2 from WordPress.
Same.
Oh.
Daniel,
Say that again.
I said same. I used your email, and that's what, through Zoom, that's how I got in, but I didn't use the other 2 emails.
Beautiful. Good to know. Do you have her email address? I can send it to her. While we're fixing this up, I'll tell a quick story. When Wynn and I first met, I told my health story, which we don't need to get into at this moment, but it's very similar to Wynn's. Basically was hit with a hurdle that what we wanted to do in our life, have kids or play sports, just was not possible. And due to health reasons, diseases, what have you. And we just connected on that immediately. I think the first time it was a cold call. You just called the farm.
It totally was.
I think we talked for,
Can you do that?
yeah, for some reason, mail does that.
I saw what you were doing. I found your website and I started reading your story, and I was like, this guy, I gotta find this guy. I want to talk to this guy.
We talked for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
I remember I just paced back and forth on my deck, and we totally connected. But we sent out the email. We're all good. So let's resume. So themes. Let's dive into why we should care, right? So you are what you eat, right?
Yeah.
We know that. We know that phrase.
Yeah.
But why should we care about what we touch, what we wear, what we interact with?
Right. So, well, you know, we pay so much attention to what we're putting in our bodies, but we don't think about the fact that what we put on our bodies we're actually absorbing, and the environments that we're in we're actually absorbing. And so whether it's through our mouths or our nose or through our skin, we're absorbing these chemicals that are around us, whether they're the flame retardants that are on your furniture or your, you know, whatever it may be, the lotion that you're wearing that's marketed to you as natural, safe, and botanical. The reason that this is such an important topic is because unlike food that's highly regulated, maybe not enough, but there's massive amounts of regulation
Absolutely.
around it. The last law written, major federal law written around the personal care industry, which encompasses massive amounts of things that we're using on a daily basis, was written in 1938.
Wow.
1938.
Wow.
And so since then, there have been over 80,000 chemicals introduced into commerce and actually grandfathered in, and there's no safety data on those.
80,000.
80,000.
Wow.
80,000. And those chemicals, we know there's data out there. It's not that there's a lack of data, it's just because of lack of regulation. Companies don't have to change. So we know that these chemicals are actually in our bodies. They're in the bodies of our children even before they're born, because we are absorbing them through our skin, through our mouths, and through our noses. It's a big deal. You know, cancer's on the rise since the it's been in 40 years, the increase of cancer cancer rates went from 1 in 20 to now 1 in 8 in women. That's breast cancer. Sperm counts have decreased in the last 50 years by 50%. I mean, wow. And they're relating it directly back to these chemicals that we're coming in contact with on a daily basis.
Wow. So it's more than food. I mean, it's everything.
Oh, yeah.
There's chemicals all around us that if we just have some simple tips and tricks to understand what are these chemicals, how to avoid them, we could.
Absolutely. You have the power. I mean, the power is in your hands, and it is, you know, what you choose to pay attention to. The great thing is that you don't have to go through the rabbit holes that I went through to find out, because I'm going to tell you. Maybe not everything right now, because we could be here for days, but I feel honored to be that resource so that people don't have to drive themselves crazy, because that is one reason why people don't pay attention, because it just makes them crazy. It makes them too anxious. They're like, well, I don't even know where to start, so just forget it. And that's not the way that I want it to be easy. I want it to be easy.
Right. Before I let you dive into the easiness of making these decisions, understanding left from right, understanding good decisions and less more toxic decisions. Let's talk about toxins and chemicals, right? We've used these terms. Why are chemicals bad for our system? Like, does our system purify, right, and detox itself?
No.
Okay, so go ahead.
Not like we want it to. Not like we think it should. So what? You know, we have our endocrine system, right? Our endocrine system, it basically controls everything. It controls our metabolism, it controls our sex drive, it controls our reproduction, our temperature. Did I say metabolism? Our mood, everything, right? And it's controlled by hormones. Hormones are chemicals. That's why we couldn't call it chemical free, right?
Yeah.
Hormones are chemicals. They're natural chemicals. And what happens is that a lot of these chemicals, one in particular, a class of chemicals called phthalates, which this is the tricky part, you'll never see the word phthalate on an ingredient list.
But it's
right?
a chemical.
It's a chemical,
Okay.
and it's everywhere. It's a component, basically. So a phthalate it comes from plastic, right? So phthalates can be in anything that's a soft plastic, like say like my cell phone cord, or the plastic that might be in an IV tube, or in a shower curtain, in a bottle. It's in perfume, anything with fragrance, because it sticks to your body. It's the plastic, it's the phthalates that make the perfume stick to your body. They're all over the place, but phthalates act like hormones. They look like hormones, right?
Okay.
And so in your body, so phthalates are considered endocrine disruptors, right? Your endocrine system controls everything. Phthalates are considered endocrine disruptors. So they look just like the hormones that you need for your body to function regularly, but they send the wrong signals, right? So that's what, so for instance, phthalates can cause your digestive system to hang on to more calories. They can cause your pancreas to create more, oh my gosh, what's the word? Glucose, insulin. They can confuse your body to produce more estrogen to encourage your body to go through puberty earlier. So there's lots of different things that mixed signals that they're sending to our body, and they're all over the place. They're all over the place.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And so when you say endocrine disruptors, I mean, it literally can be taken literally. They're disrupting our endocrine system, how it functions properly.
They're mimicking what the hormones are supposed to be doing, because they're in disguise, right?
Right.
They're Batman, but they're not Batman, right? They're not out saving the world. They're actually the Joker, right? And they're going in there, and they can actually, they're considered mutagenic, so they can actually turn on and off certain genes in your body.
Wow. So they can disrupt our endocrine system and normal bodily function, but they can actually mutate.
They can. What's really interesting about them too is let's say a woman is pregnant and she's coming in contact with phthalates. The phthalates may not necessarily have any sort of short or medium term effects that she knows of, but they can directly affect the baby that's in the womb and mutate their DNA.
Wow, that was my next question. What is like the genetic lineage that these phthalates and endocrine disrupting hormones, right, have to our genetic lineage? So like we want to protect our bodies, right? I want to understand not dying from cancer, but do our decisions affect our lineage as well? Oh,
absolutely. I mean, well, first of all, if we're getting cancer, we have no lineage, right? So I want to do everything I can to be around for a long time, but I also, with my kids, and thinking about, a man produces sperm on a daily basis, right? Women are born with their embryo, or their eggs, right? So if you're if you're coming in contact with these phthalates that are mutating your DNA, then it could be having effects on your offspring that's not even there yet. Or reducing your ability to reproduce yourself.
Right. Create the offspring.
So the Environmental Working Group, if you're not familiar with the Environmental Working Group, they're a fabulous nonprofit, and they did a test. They tested adults' blood, right? Their levels of blood. They tested for over 300 toxic chemicals. These are chemicals that are linked to cancer, hormone disruption, allergies, they're environmental pollutants. And they tested the umbilical cord of 10 babies, and all 10 of them had levels upwards of 287 of these massive offenders of harmful chemicals. And they weren't even born yet.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's impactful to me. I mean, I have 2 young children under 2, and you have 4 wonderful girls.
So we're actually, we think of these babies as these precious you know, and they are precious, don't get me wrong, but we're actually, you know, we're pre-polluted before we're even born because of the things that are in our environment that we don't know because they're not actually, those ingredients are not actually disclosed.
Right. I've never seen a phthalate on the label that I've read.
Yeah. That's why fragrance is one of the massive offenders because phthalates.
You said that it sticks it to your skin. It binds it to your dermis. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. Before I move on to the next part of this, please, if you guys have questions and if you want to put them in the chat, please start filling that up if questions come to mind so that you don't lose them, but also so we have the questions. Because I feel like when I first got into holistic, you know, clean living, all I had was questions. I started just diving into books and books and books, and I wish I would have known you at that time. I would have saved a lot of time. A lot of long nights just pouring into books as if I was back in college, you know, looking through textbooks. So if you guys have questions, please, that's half the reason for this webinar is just to pull info out of Wynn.
Yes.
I do it on a weekly basis because I'm selfish and I take her time. But please, I mean, this is a perfect opportunity for it.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
And so the next thing I want to dive into, we can approach it in either way that you're comfortable. We can approach it from what factors you go through. It could be mental steps or decision processes, you know, trees when you start selecting a new beauty product or when you do your consulting and you're cleaning the home of your clients and their products, or you could just list out 5, 10 chemicals or steps that we could take if we didn't want phthalates in our body, if we wanted our endocrine system, you know, working as needed, or if we have autoimmune disease or anything else that anybody is struggling with that relates back to how the body and the hormones, you know, function.
So backing up a little bit, phthalates is just one of the big offenders, but there's some other things that there are other chemicals that you really want to be aware of too, which would kind of lead into your question of how I choose companies and how I choose products. The first thing I do is I have a really great list that we'll send to you called the Never List. And it's some of the most common ingredients they're both in personal care products, cleaning products, baby products, sunscreen, food. They're everywhere. They're some of the most common offenders that should not. They have no business being in any of our products. And to give you a little bit of background, the European Union is leaps and bounds beyond where we are in the United States. They ban over 1,400 harmful ingredients from use in personal care. And the United States right now is at 30, and that's actually a partial ban of 30.
Can you say those numbers one more time?
Yeah.
Just to make sure I get them.
The European Union bans over 1,400 harmful ingredients
1,400
from use in personal care products, right?
Right.
The United States bans 30, and that's only a partial ban. 19 of those 30 are a partial ban. So they are allowed on some things, but not on other things. That 30, we just, on one of the companies I work with, it just helped to jump that from 11 to the 30.
Wow, so that change is recent.
Yeah.
I mean, we're only recently getting from really bad to just quasi-bad.
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Yes. So that going back to that list, so I look for those things. Now, it's kind of a pain because if you look at an ingredient list, you go into your bath. The first thing I tell people is go into your bathroom, look at the things that you use every single day. So Daniel here, like on a daily basis, he's going to brush his teeth, and he may or may not.
Right.
Whatever you do, I don't know, but you
very little. For those out there that want to know.
So he uses toothpaste, right? So we're going to look at his toothpaste. But if you look at toothpaste, there's like 30 different ingredients in toothpaste, and it's like tiny writing. So I just say you go look at the things that you use on a consistent daily basis. So for Daniel, toothpaste. For me, I wash my face in the morning, at night. I wear makeup, not a ton, not as much as a lot of people, but I do wear makeup. That probably puts me to like 6 products. I wash my hair, I condition my hair. We're about to like 8. Did I say brush my teeth? I wear deodorant, I put on lotion. I'm using like 12 to 14 products, which ends up being hundreds of ingredients.
Right.
Right? So what I did first was I looked at the things that I use multiple times a day and the things that sit on my skin. So the first thing was deodorant, right?
Right.
I'm going to look at deodorant. And then, where was I going from there?
So we're on the no list.
Yes, the never list.
The never list.
You know, it can be daunting. So I invite you, if you have questions, you can ask me. I'm going to send you that list, but you can also say, hey, do you see a quick glance, real quick, do you see anything in here? I look for parabens, number one.
Okay.
Parabens are linked to breast cancer. No kind of paraben. Methyl, paraben, polyparaben, butyl paraben. There's like 5 or 6
Every
of them.
form.
They're bad.
Okay.
I look for fragrance. Fragrance is a no-go. No-go. Fragrance is actually trade secrets, so the companies don't even have to list the actual ingredients in fragrance. Phthalates is in fragrance, one of the ingredients in fragrance.
I see. Okay,
Right.
so it's a generic term. You can hide
It's
a
a
lot of
generic term.
chemicals under.
Right. It's like saying, putting on the back of your, I don't know, meat,
Yeah,
food.
meat. Yeah.
You know,
Meat.
it's kind of ridiculous. So,
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Parabens, fragrance, there's a handful of them. Those are 2. You can look for those now. That'd be a good exercise to go look for those now.
Yeah.
I look for those in my cleaning products too. I mean, I'm pretty much scouring everything and anything for it. But when it comes to also the companies that I choose, I'm looking for companies that are really invested in both the people, the planet, and then their bottom line. So
Planet bottom line. Okay.
right.
Makes sense.
And you know what those companies are called? People that are equally invested in people, planet, and their bottom lines are B corporations. We love benefit corporations. There's a really strict standard for B corporations,
Okay.
and they get graded every single year in order to be a B corp. So you always want to be looking for B corporations.
B corporations.
Yep.
If I can stop you, I teach permaculture. We practice permaculture on our farm. Permaculture has 3 ethics: people care, earth care, and fair share. There you go.
Yeah.
It's all working together. There you go. I don't want to stop you. This is great. So there's a lot of crap out there, right? And your list is probably pretty long, and I'm sure it's going to be very helpful to everybody who's listening. To me, too. Please send it to me.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't have that. I just have you, and I need you all the
We got
time.
a direct line.
I know, right? Let's dive into the last 5 minutes or so here. If you could provide 3 or 5 or 10, whatever you feel comfortable, what are some simple steps that we can take, right, to reduce these endocrine disruptors, autoimmune flare-up things in our lives, to live a more holistic life?
Right. Okay. Number 1, stop using plastic.
Okay.
Don't heat up plastic. Don't freeze plastic. Don't drink out of plastic. Right? Switch to glass or stainless steel, but make sure that bottle is actually stainless steel, because there are a lot of aluminum bottles out there, and you do not want to be drinking out of aluminum. So that's number 1.
Okay.
Do not eat, drink, store food in plastic.
Okay.
That's number 1. There's
Makes sense.
BP. You'll see this, and this is another way. Another example of a grassroots movement is that the people were the reason why BPA was taken out of plastic, right? The people demanded that BPA be taken out of plastic. BPA acts as like estrogen.
Okay.
In
It's
the
like an
body.
estrogenic or something.
Yes, but here's what you need to know. That doesn't mean that plastic is safe because it's BPA free, because what they've done is put BPS and BPF and all of these other things in there. So just forget about plastic.
Okay.
For those of you that have kids and you have a Costco membership, this is one that gets me, and I'm working on this. I'm going to work on this with Costco. Every single time we walk out of that door, the person that takes our receipt, those receipts or thermal receipts are lined with BPA. You're absorbing that BPA from your hands. Ditch the receipts. Don't take the receipt. You have to there.
Yeah.
But otherwise, don't take the receipt or just don't hang on to it. But every single time we walk out of the door at Costco, that person that stands at the door puts a little smiley face on it and hands it to one of my 4 children.
Wow.
They know not to touch it, and I take it, but don't do receipts. Don't do receipts. You're going to eliminate a massive amount of exposure to BPA just by not taking the receipts.
Wow.
And it wouldn't be a bad idea if you shared that with the person that was giving you the receipt.
That's the whole life spends touching this receipt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge deal.
That's amazing.
The other thing would be pesticides, like pesticides around your yard and pesticides in your house. Like, they're alternatives, or don't use them.
Right.
Right? Because you have babies on the floor, you have children on the floor, you have dogs on the floor, I mean, and you're breathing it in. Just don't use them.
Right.
Don't use them.
Another lean for permaculture.
Exactly.
I mean, plant some like pest deterrent.
Right.
Whatever fits.
Something.
Yeah.
Grow some praying mantis.
Yeah.
Well, praying mantis kill the bugs.
Yeah.
Use beneficial bugs. There you go. And then another one is flame retardant. So there are a lot of clothes, baby clothes, that have flame retardants in them. There's furniture that have flame retardants in it. There's actually a law passed that if for baby clothes, they have to have a yellow label that says this item has been treated with flame retardants.
Wow.
So there is that label out there. Just don't buy them. There are better, safer alternatives out there. Happy to share those with you. And then also furniture. Furniture has to have a label on it now if it's been treated. But here's the funny thing. I mean, who would know? I think it's like SB 117 is on the label. It doesn't say no flame retardant. So you can ask. There's a handful of companies now that are not spraying the flame retardants on their furniture.
Gotcha. And they probably market pretty heavily. You know.
Yeah.
But they're not.
Well,
So they're,
not as much as you would think. Yeah, not as much as you would think.
Okay.
The other thing is to vacuum often, because a lot of the chemicals in the environment, I mean, we're breathing them in. They fall down as dust. They collect in dust, right?
Wow.
So there's flame retardants in your electronics and in your furniture, and then you've got the phthalates that are falling from your cleaning products and perfumes. Vacuum it up with a HEPA filter and open your windows. Get some fresh air. Those are simple. And then use plants to filter your air. There's some great plants that I can share with you that filter out xylene, formaldehyde, all of that kind of stuff. So
that's amazing. It sounds like we need a second webinar where I'll just ask you. We can even do it from like my house. We'll just walk around and you'll just show us the windows. And we bought a new vacuum for the first time the other day. Morgan and I just pushed it around. It's so amazing using like a good vacuum.
Yeah, those things are amazing.
It's amazing.
I love vacuum cleaners.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, we'll after the webinar, we'll sit down and see if we can jot down a few more ideas to give you guys in the follow-up email. I really want to get to questions.
Yeah, I'm seeing some good ones.
I keep seeing them come in.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them. Let's see. Okay. So from Kevin Clifford, which I think is Brandon, has there been any research conducted about detoxifying the phalates?
Yeah, just don't
body?
use them. To get them out, that's a great question. And I'm gonna get you an answer. That's a great question. The first thing I think about is, charcoal and celery juice, but I don't know. That's just me throwing that out there, but I'm gonna find out.
Beautiful.
What do you know about how baking soda is manufactured? I know that in a product that we actually have we have multiple businesses, and one of our businesses is an organic product that's 100% compostable packaging, and one of the ingredients in our baked good is aluminum-free baking, or are you saying baking powder, baking soda? Baking soda, yeah, aluminum-free baking soda. So you want to make sure you get aluminum-free.
So there's aluminum hiding in baking soda?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you want to stay away from aluminum. Any aluminum in your baking soda, aluminum in cooking, and for food storage, and aluminum deodorant is no-go. Get rid of it. And aluminum bottles, no-go.
You were telling me when you were cutting my hair earlier that that this family spent all of this money on organic, pasture-raised, chicken and 100% grass-fed and finished beef, and they cooked it in aluminum foil.
Yeah.
And you just stood back and you said, "Why did you spend all of that money?"
Yeah.
Right? You just ruined it.
Yeah.
By your cooking procedure.
Yeah, I said that in my head. I didn't say that.
She.
Well, if it was my mom, I would say
you're
that.
Very nice.
Yeah.
You're very nice.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Kendra's question. a good deodorant.
Deodorant, yeah, Kendra. So there's a company called Primal Pit Paste, and they actually, yeah, it's pretty phenomenal, and it works for me. And my husband's on this webinar, and if he's not muted, he might tell you that it really does work, which is amazing. Works for me. I'm the stinky one in the family. But it's Primal Pit Paste, and you can get it without baking soda.
Wow, very cool.
You can get it online at Primal Pit Paste. They actually have it at like some health food stores like Whole Foods. You can get it on Amazon.
Easy to get.
It's becoming like a household brand now. Yeah.
Let's stay on Kendra's question, cleaning products.
Cleaning products. So
We can limit it to a room or cleaning type. I mean, I'm sure we can go an hour on this question. Oh boy.
I forgot I have these things.
Hey, we got show and tell. Here,
Yes.
I'll hold it.
This right here, belong to me. Been around forever. It's like $1.50.
Yeah.
You can get it at Walmart, Target, Amazon, wherever. It's like Comet, right? But it's not like Comet because it doesn't have any of the nasty stuff in it. It's limestone, feldspar, soda ash, and baking soda. That's your toilet. That's your bathtub, right?
Makes sense.
We can talk. Oh, cleaning products. Okay, so that's one of my cleaning products. I use a lot of vinegar. Some people are really turned off by vinegar. I add essential oils to it. I do have some little recipes that I can send you for cleaning around the house with essential oils and vinegar, alcohol. But then there's also a company called Branch Basics. They're actually a B corporation as well.
Very cool.
I do like them a lot, and their one product has multi-uses. So my goal too is that you're not breaking the bank by trying to live healthy and clean, because you don't have to.
Right. That makes sense. Why, for time's sake, why don't we we'll write up all this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
we'll do that.
there's like a whole box on her lap of all these amazing things.
It's my bucket of tricks.
We'll get you answered there, Kendra.
Yes.
Let's see.
BPA in the receipts. Yes. Thermal. They're thermal receipts. You'll notice there actually is a BPA free receipt. I used to buy it years ago in my old business, but again, BPF, BPS.
Right.
Just forego the receipt if you can, or have them email it.
Wow.
Save trees too.
Right.
The process.
Right. Let's see. White Lotus has a mattress and bedding that you can get without flame retardants, but I think you have to get a doctor's prescription to be able to buy them. You know anything about White Lotus?
I don't know anything about White Lotus, but I know a lot about mattresses, and just went down that rabbit hole recently. And I have some really great recommendations too. One of them is Awara, AWARA.
Okay.
They use wool. They don't use any flame retardants. Here's another thing. Glues, off-gas formaldehyde. So there's a lot of glues in mattresses. They don't use any.
So you're sleeping with formaldehyde.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
fun.
foam typically is off-gassing. So Awara is a really great brand that is not going to, I mean, they're more expensive, but.
Well, you're not sleeping with formaldehyde, among other things.
Right. Cancer is really expensive.
Yeah.
So,
That's
Awara.
a good quote of Joel's, Salatin. Have you checked out how expensive cancer is lately? I love that quote. Because it is absolutely so true.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. Kendra, I'm going to skip your question about the cleaning products list. I'll send that to you guys.
Yep.
That's a really good idea. When do you know aluminum foil?
Windy.
That was something amazing to me. I mean, I remember growing up, like aluminum foil and like plastic wrap. Like there was a whole drawer dedicated in the kitchen to that.
Yeah. No more. Aluminum foil. So parchment paper, non-bleached parchment paper. Whole Foods has their own like brand of non-bleached parchment paper. If you're looking for, something to cover a dish while you're baking, turn a cookie sheet upside down, put it on top of the casserole dish, or get Corningware with the glass lids. If you're looking to store something, we do the same thing. We use a plate we have a salad bowl, right? And you would normally put like plastic wrap or aluminum foil over it.
Right.
Put a plate on top of it.
That's really interesting. While we're on the cooking subject, could you talk about cast iron versus Teflon coated pans? Like
yes.
15, 30 seconds.
Thank you so much. The Teflon coated pans, those are your non-stick. You don't want anything that says non-stick.
Okay.
Nothing And on that note, you really do want to be cooking with stainless steel, because most of those little shiny dishes that or the pans and stuff that you're cooking on are going to be aluminum.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've switched over all of our, I mean, you can cook cookies on glass too. You could use a casserole dish to cook, cookies on instead of a cookie sheet, but you really want stainless steel, and you do not want anything that is non-stick. Teflon is a massive, just a massive toxin. It's toxic to the environment. It's in the water everywhere. It's turning male fish into female fish, or frogs, something. Frogs,
aquatic life.
Yeah, something. Don't do it. Just use oil or parchment paper. We line everything with parchment paper.
Very good. Non-bleach parchment paper.
Yeah. Yeah.
Marvelous. We are getting blown up with questions. I think we're like 11 or 12 behind. Let's see. If anyone needs to move on, I think if you're okay with it, we'll just keep answering questions.
Yeah.
If anybody needs to go, please obviously feel obliged to leave. We thank you for being here. We'll just keep answering questions.
Yeah.
You'll keep answering questions.
Yeah.
These are all you. You're amazing.
I see Molly Suds in there, Brandon. You're using Molly Suds. Yay. Yep, that's going to be on the list. That's one of my box of tricks down here. Molly Suds is a detergent. It works amazing. I just got the whitening one that doesn't have any chlorine in it. So far, so good. Doesn't have any fragrance in it, because most of those detergents do. And beware of free and clear detergents, because they still have ingredients like sodium lauryl sulfate, which are linked to cancer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So we'll read your list. I'm really excited about getting it.
So the receipt, she's asking about the receipts again.
Yeah,
they're all those. Yeah, they're all thermal.
I once there's a chiropractor here in Charlottesville. We went to the first year we moved here, and she looked at it, she goes, I'm supposed to offer you a receipt, but I can't do it. And I never had understood this in the receipts. It was completely new to me.
Yeah.
And I thought for a split second, I was like, what in the world is going on? And she told me that. And I still to this day, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
I absolutely can't believe it, because you're standing there and you just grab it, you put it in your pocket, you grab it, you put it in your food bag, right where all of your food is.
Yeah.
It's
and
truly,
if you're like me, your hands are sweating.
Right. Your pores are open, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
Let's jump to Michael's question here. Do you know about the use of wool as an insulator in houses?
So I have heard of that, and I have a really great resource for green building. I mean, it's really expensive to use wool in walls. I've heard of using denim. I've heard now they're using hemp, which sounds amazing. So there are lots of different options for that, because there is actually formaldehyde in regular insulation. So yeah, I'll get you that link to the green building something or other.
Beautiful.
The guys are awesome, and you can purchase a lot of things through their website.
I think, okay. Yes, Wendy, we're recording this. You will get a link to rewatch it. We're actually going to upload it to the YouTube channel here, so you guys can watch it time and time again. That's really the point here, to get everyone equipped, just in case you don't have Wynn's number. You can't call her as much as I do.
I'll give you my phone number. Or maybe I won't. I'm kidding. I will.
That's up to you.
I'm totally kidding. So one of the things that I did not think about too, that I see a lot still happening, is like you'll go into the grocery store and you see organic vegetables in a can. Mm-hmm. Typically they'll say, especially if it's organic, it'll say BPA free, but again, there's still that lining of BPS or BPF, and it's an aluminum can.
Right.
So if you can, a better option would be something in a Tetra Pak. An even better option would be to grow your tomatoes. But we all know farmers like Daniel. But
we all know farmers, and that's the beautiful thing. And that's the beautiful thing.
I do grow my tomatoes, lots of them, so that I have them, so I don't have to. But buy them in glass. You can buy them in glass too. But shop locally.
Yeah, absolutely. Funny quick tomato story. We raised pigs on the farm, and the pigs were like a half a mile in the woods at the time, and their fence charger broke. The actual charger mechanism that puts a charge in the fence that keeps them in where they were. It totally broke, and I didn't know. So one morning we woke up, and all like 15 piglets and mom and dad pig, the boar and the sow, were in our garden, and we had just like the tomatoes had just come out and were ripe. Well, anyways, they just devoured the garden, and we just said, okay, great. They were fed for a day. Like, I can't complain.
Yeah.
But we started to see tomato plants growing around our yard, all over the place, and we're calling all of our permy friends, right? Do tomatoes like spread?
Yes,
like
they
they
do.
spread,
Oh,
100 yards? I think that's the only thing we can come up with.
They probably dropped.
We have tomatoes just growing all over this summer.
We had a tomato jungle this year.
That's amazing.
From all the ones that had dropped on the ground. It was crazy. You couldn't even get through our garden. It was awesome.
That's the best.
Yeah.
That's absolutely the best.
Yeah. So glass for your tomatoes. If you're not buying them local, say you can't find good tomatoes right now, right?
Absolutely.
Everyone wants a nice ripe tomato. If you're making tomato sauce and you need tomatoes, go buy them organic in a glass jar.
Absolutely. Or
No
can
can.
them.
Yes,
From the
not
summer.
in a can.
But not in a can.
Yes,
In a glass ball
yes,
jar.
Yes.
Catherine asked, washing veggies. Do you have any
Washing veggies.
recommended solutions for this?
Are you talking about your veggies that you're growing? Or you're talking about veggies from the grocery store, and are those veggies organic? I guess there would be 3 different takes on that. If you're growing your vegetables and you're not using anything, then I'd wash the dirt off of them, but other than that, there's all kinds of healthy.
So she says organic from store.
Oh, organic
If you
from
wanted
store.
to clean them further.
Yeah, so I have a girlfriend that actually uses, she has a big jar of salt that sits beside her sink, and she just takes her hand and she rubs it up and down the vegetable, and she's done with it. Yeah, and that's how she rinses it. There are, I don't think that it would hurt to soak it in maybe a little bit of vinegar.
I've heard that.
But because there are still, you go and get an organic apple, and it's still they're gonna have wax on it. They put that wax on it. Yeah, you want to get that wax off. I think salt's cheap.
Yeah, absolutely.
Salt's cheap, and it's easy, and just rub it on.
Puts more minerals on your apple.
Yeah, that's right.
It's
a good question.
Joel Salatin quotes that keep coming to my head for some reason. But one of them is, it's not a direct quote, but his idea of just every summer, you should, as a family, dedicate an entire weekend, go to a farmer's market, buy all the tomatoes from all the organic or local producers, right? The people who are doing the tomatoes right, buy all of them. Fill your whole car with them and can them for the winter. Solution is now now behind you. It's a great, as a farmer who's been at markets, you would be my favorite customer. I would do anything for you if that would be the case. Right? But also from a consuming perspective, the family health perspective, that's truly one of the best ways possible to eat tomatoes in December, without any worry. Yeah,
and if you're afraid of canning too, because I didn't can the right way last year, and I was so sad when I saw stuff growing in my jars. Like, it was
good thing you saw it.
But I grew those tomatoes from seed, and it takes a lot of time to do that. Right. This year, when I can them, I just put them in the oh my gosh, what are the glass jars, but they're meant to go in the freezer. They're ball jars that are meant to go in the freezer.
Yep.
And I just put them straight in the freezer.
There you go.
Instead of just putting them on, I know they're frozen.
Right.
So
botulism is not a good thing.
No.
Yeah.
No, we didn't want to try that one.
Beautiful. Let's get this last question here. Toothpaste recommendations.
Yeah, toothpaste recommendations. This is, I prefer no fluoride. It's considered a neurotoxin. I think we get enough from the water that we drink, and from other places. So I say fluoride free. That's just my preference. And you do not want any sodium lauryl sulfate in your toothpaste. So my favorite is Jason. Jason. You can get that Amazon, Whole Foods, any of your health food stores. Actually, some of the grocery stores, like your run-of-the-mill grocery stores, are carrying it now.
Oh wow!
Yep.
Jason. There you go.
Jason.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Well, I don't see any more questions coming in. Copper pans, Michael.
Oh,
last second.
I did see that. Copper pans. I guess the question would be,
go ahead.
are they, oh, can you move that up?
Yeah.
Are they actually copper pans, tin lined, no tin?
Why no tin? Similar to aluminum?
Yeah.
Similar effects?
Yeah, there are some copper pans out there, but I guess it would just depend on, let me do some, you're asking great questions, by the way, Michael.
Are you sure tin-lined copper pans are a problem? Because that's not aluminum.
Yeah,
Tin is
they're
different element.
I know, I feel there's something that's ringing a bell in my head, and I'm going to find an answer and get back to you. I think there are some copper pans that are okay, but I think they may not fully be copper. I think there's other metals in there with them depending on the brand.
Gotcha. Cool.
I'd really be curious to know that when I've done a lot of research on pans just because of my daughter's autoimmune stuff. So my understanding is the old-fashioned copper, as long as the tin lining is fully intact, then you don't get any leaching of the copper. But I haven't come across anything saying that the tin lining in a tin pan is problematic as long as it's clean.
Okay. Yeah, that's on my radar. That's on my radar. And if not, if I can't find an answer, I do know of some other recommendations too that I can share with you.
Great.
Hair care products, gels, shampoos. Yeah, so my go-to for anything shampoo, body, kids, makeup is going to be Beauty Counter. And if you haven't heard of them, check them out. I will fully disclose that I work with Beauty Counter for a very good reason, because they work to change the laws for all consumers. The CEO was just asked to testify in front of Congress as a witness about the lack of regulation this past week. It was pretty phenomenal.
Amazing testimony too. I'm sure it's all over YouTube, or that's Vimeo, I think was the link you sent me. Just absolutely amazing watching her dialogue with our legislative body and just asking questions, and it truly was heartbreaking and sad, as an American citizen, but also inspiring to know that these questions are being asked.
Yeah.
I encourage you. What was her name? How can they access that video?
I've got links.
We'll send you links.
We'll send it to it in the email with all the tips. You'll be blown away. So definitely Beauty Counter. As far as like gels and stuff for hair care, the company that I partner with is Intelligent Nutrients, and they're really, really great company. They're grassroots movement, in that they're all about like things that Beauty Counter does. They're not actually a B corporation. They're not working to change the laws, but they've got people on the ground talking about things that are really important.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, those are my favorites. Yeah. And then I think that's it. Is that it? But what I guess, the main thing that I would love for everybody to take away is that don't be afraid to use the power of your voice. You may not have all the answers just like I don't. You may just be scratching the surface and knowing that a can might be not be lined with BPA, but it might have BPS in it, and just sharing that with someone else, and then having their wheels turning the light bulb on for them. That's pretty powerful stuff. And that's kind of how it happened for me. So don't be afraid to use the power of your voice, because we can move mountains that way and keep our communities safe and healthy, and help too, because, we can change the laws by people demanding or choosing different companies and not supporting the companies that are not actually looking out for us.
Right.
And then, it's like using common sense precaution too. People may say, well, this is alarmism, or you're over the top, or whatever it may be, but nobody's saying that to me when I get in the car and I put my seatbelt on.
It's true.
Some really bad things could happen if I didn't put my seatbelt on, but I know they probably won't, but I'm going to put my seatbelt on. So I would say to everybody, when you're choosing your products or the foods that you eat or the furniture, like, put your damn seatbelt on.
Right.
When it comes to making those choices. And then the last thing would be, if you have children, is to raise your children to be aware and loving and strong. So because they hear everything that you're saying, they pick up on it, and they don't have to go backwards in time to learn what we've learned,
Right.
which is really hard, especially like for the older generations
Right.
too. That's all they know. And they do it because, not to get anything out of it, but because they care, and they are the future,
Right.
right?
Aware, loving,
Loving.
and strong.
Yep.
Good for us too.
Yeah.
Really good for us too.
Yeah.
Aware, loving, and strong.
Yeah.
I like that.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for your time. And thanks for letting us hijack your space.
Sure.
And for the
Anytime.
haircut.
Yes.
I needed a
You look
haircut.
good.
Hey, you made me look good. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone. What we'll do after this, so this video is recorded. We'll upload it to YouTube so you guys can replay it and share it with your networks. If you got anything out of it, I'm sure they would love to as well. And then Win and I will sit down and do some research about detoxing phthalates. That was
Yeah.
the first. And then the copper pans lined with tin.
Yes.
And then we'll get these lists created and send them out to you guys so you guys have something tangible to work off of, as you work through the holidays and the rest of your lives. So we
Yeah.
appreciate the evening that you've shared with us.